So I put a message out on my Instagram and Twitter last week asking you guys what lesson requests you wanted. Not songs, specifically lesson requests. And the biggest comment that came up on that was changing between bar chords and open chords. Now this is a really big thing because obviously bar chords can be tricky for many people. If I play the F here, what I'm referring to is that first finger barring at least 2 strings, or even 3, because here we've got to hold down the thinnest 2 and then the thickest string. And going from that shape to then to play an open chord like C or D can be very tricky. And just as a heads up, it can often be easier to actually play at least some chord sequences, if not a whole song, with bar chords because they actually use similar shapes. But the question referred to changing between bar chords, so really we're looking at the F chord primarily to a C chord. Because beginner songs so often are written in the key of C. C is a very typically guitar friendly but also very piano friendly key, and a lot of beginner songs get written actually on piano. So we're going to have the C chord, a G chord, and then the F happen a lot. Now we do have the easier F major 7, which is F like a C, I nickname it. But that's not quite a full F chord because of that E note. So we need to either get used to the F bar chord or this little hybrid F that I'm a big fan of. Thinnest 2 strings held down just by the first finger. Thumb on top, either pressing down or just muting string 6. And then fingers 2, 3 and 4 are right on their tips. Curl those fingers over to get these ringing out. Okay? And that would be my first tip for a really easy way to change between the F chord and a full F chord. All the notes are the same. Okay, that's my first tip. And it also really trains fingers 2, 3 and 4, because fingers 2, 3 and 4 are exactly the same whether on a full F bar chord or the F chord hybrid. Another thing this really trains us for is that third finger when we play this F, which I nickname a hybrid F because it's 3 notes out of the proper F bar chord, but we're only using a mini bar. I did call it a mini bar F for a while, but then just think my students just wanted to go to the pub after that rather than play bar chords really. So this is our hybrid F, and we go to that C chord, and that third finger does not move. And what's probably happening if you're changing between a bar chord and a C major chord is after you've played the bar, you're going 1, 2, 3. And this is the real sticking point for a lot of beginners with the C chord and then progressing on to any harder chords. It's the fact that your first 3 fingers, whenever you're playing a chord, you're placing them down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And when you're changing, especially if we want to be doing that with strumming and coordinating it for a song, it's just not going to come together for you. You need to get used to this. You need to get used to making the shape of the chord before you put it down. So if we just look here just to show you what I mean, here's the shape of the F bar chord, which I have memorized in my hand because I've trained myself to be able to play bar chords. It's part of my muscle memory. And then I can place it down and play the F chord. And then what I can do is hover over the C chord in the shape. This is the shape of a C chord. It's a bit like the surfing thing, or a telephone I guess, but they're sticking that third finger out. And then we place it down like that. Now, how can we get that training, that muscle memory in your fingers as soon as possible? It's with a little exercise where we hover over each chord by about 5 mil, really staying as close to the strings as you can. For a lot of people, this is going to be very tough, and you might want to be about a centimetre away. But this is where we have that C chord. Notice my fingers are on an angle, and my thumb is over the top. Now I know that we're doing the bar chords, but this is so important to get it right on the C because it has a knock-on effect. What I'm doing with this C chord is my fingers are on this angle so they can be touching at some point, and therefore it's easier to memorize the shape rather than being like this and trying to memorize that shape, but then you lift your hand off and it just disappears. Fingers on an angle, you can sort of, if they're touching at some point, they can really memorize that shape easier. Thumb over the top, and we've got contact. We've got contact with the guitar, and it's easier to keep that shape. However, when we go to the F bar chord, that thumb has to come low. It absolutely has to come low, otherwise can't play a bar chord like that. Need to have that thumb low. The wrist isn't super bent, we're really bending at the knuckles. But there is undoubtedly that change of where the wrist is and where the thumb is. Make sure with the bar chord you're keeping your elbow in as well, otherwise it's going to struggle to ring out again. So elbow's right in at my side. Then change to that C chord. F, C. Other chords that we need to get this with that are going to happen with the F chord are typically the F to A minor. Similar to the C, but it's good training. And then finally the F to a G. F, thumb low, wrist low. G, thumb just a little bit higher and the wrist a little bit higher. Not by much. Wrist often, as I say, is fairly straight or just slightly curved, and we're mainly bending it in the knuckle to do a bar chord. Often it's easier to go from the F to a G just by sliding the bar chord up. And then even your third finger's on the same string if you want to go back to a C. But these are the chords that are going to happen. Those are the bar chords that are going to happen with open chords. The next most common bar chord other than the F to crop up in this kind of context is the B minor, because the B minor chord really happens in a lot of songs that are in the key of D. So with D, A and G, we have this B minor bar chord. It can also crop up in the key of G as well, but we've really got to get this B minor chord down. Now, if there's any of this kind of thing you're struggling with, what I really look at so much in my Improver course, which is the orange one over there, and I'll try and remember to link to it or in the description somewhere, but that's my Improver guitar course. We really look a lot at little tricks we can do, like when we go for the B minor bar chord and we're going to an A, you can use a flat first finger rather than going for 3 in a line. It can be a lot easier to do a quick change, and most guitarists, if they're honest, would choose to do that. But again, the same rules kind of apply. If we want to go from the B minor to a D chord, when we lift off of the B minor shape, we have to get into this D position, this muscle memory, before we put it down